Hey guys, doing? Welcome back to Sports O'Clock. Very special episode. I'm here with my very good friend Caleb D's Nuts.
Hey, going
Caleb D Brown.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
good. I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm really glad to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me on the show.
Nah, always, man. I'm really appreciative that you could come on to talk
thank you.
about a completely generic and not controversial topic.
Look, we don't like controversy.
No, especially you, and I'm sure all the viewers that know you personally can vouch for that.
Look, I mean, I'm a very, uncontroversial guy. I avoid all controversial topics whatsoever. I have a lot of friends, in other words.
Bro, okay, yep, we'll go with that. That's your resume.
There we go.
And Caleb, we know each other because we appear. Well, you're the host of the Aussie View podcast, which
Yep, that's correct.
go check out right now. Link in the top right and in the description.
Thank you very much for the plug, and yeah, I
No
do
worries,
appreciate
mate.
it.
No worries, anytime. Yeah, well, obviously know you through the Aussie View, so you got your podcast experience and all that sort of stuff.
100%, yeah.
But
Mate, you were a part of us when we first started.
Yep.
We started, and I was the host, and you were the co-host. You know what I mean? And that's how we grew together as a team.
Yep.
And it was great, and we've both benefited. Freaking can't speak this afternoon. Benefited from that. And,
Yeah. 100%.
Thank you very much.
And I always enjoy appearing on it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great fun, mate. It's great fun. And I get to hang out with Jerry the dinosaur. So
Oh, freaking oath, man.
if you don't know what that's about, you got to go check it out.
His,
You'll understand.
his relationship with Jerry is disturbing.
Well, that's off camera, and we don't need to talk about that.
Right. Sorry, guys.
It's getting a bit MA15 plus.
That's right.
I'm just gonna ask you.
Yeah.
It's not very deep. You don't have to go deep, of course.
Yeah.
But just tell us a bit about yourself and I guess kind of how you perceive things typically. And you said you're a very likable guy before, but that we won't get into it. But that hasn't always been the case.
That's right.
For some people.
Look, to be obviously my name is Caleb D Brown. At this is CDB on Instagram. I had to put in the plug. I just had to
Yes.
plug it. I'm so sorry.
Link in description.
It's link in bio. But basically, I'm like entrepreneur, student. I'm a very black and white guy, so I see things very right, wrong.
Yep.
Very black and white. That says for itself. And I'm pretty opinionated as well. And I don't think that can be a bad thing, but also I mainly look at that as a good thing. Because if you don't have opinions, you're going to be used and abused.
Yep.
Your whole life.
Cool.
People will take advantage of you if you don't know how to stand up for yourself.
100%. And I can vouch for you because I know that you
Mm-hmm.
always you back your opinions up and stand your ground.
I don't just talk from, I like to talk from experience, but I don't like to, when I'm arguing a point, I don't just say my opinion and that's that. I go, this is my opinion. The reason for my opinion is this.
Yeah, well, today I'm gonna basically kind of get your thoughts on essentially transgender athletes
Here we go.
competing in sports, which I'm sure our viewers are gonna love. Before we start though, a disclaimer from myself, from Caleb, from my ballsack, everyone here. We want to stress the point that we're not here to debate whether trans women are real women or trans men are real men or anything like that. That's got nothing to do with what we're going to be talking about today. That's irrelevant.
We're not talking about, we'll look at the biology aspect behind it, but we're not going to be looking at...
We're not going to be sitting here and discussing or even debating whether it's people with gender dysphoria are valid or anything like that.
We're not looking at that.
And even though it will still be probably viewed quite controversially, the whole topic.
Yeah.
You can't really escape that. It's not. That's not really the go today.
Yeah.
We're not,
Yeah,
we're
that's
not
right.
coming at it from that angle.
100%.
We're looking at it from a sports based.
Yeah.
From a sports
100%.
perspective. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that very clear to the viewers and everything that our focus is not validating the experiences and identities or anything like that of transgender people. It's purely the sport aspect and sort of why they should or shouldn't be able to compete or where the grey area in there or whatever it is. So I'm going to basically hit you with probably the most obvious question that's going to come.
Okay.
And I've written down a massive, or not massive, it's like longer than it has to be. But my question that I'd like to ask you, it's very black and white.
Yep.
Do you think that transgender athletes should be allowed to compete with or against individuals of the gender that athlete now identifies as? I.e., should transgender people be able to take part in the competition?
Yeah, I understand the question.
Yep.
Do you want just a straight answer, or do you want just a
You can hit me with a straight answer first if you want.
No.
No?
The reason for that is because they're not equal. A lot of the people that are pushing for, trans rights, they're pushing for what's called equality.
Yep.
And the thing that I disagree with about that is that if you really want equality, then people who were biologically born a female,
Yep.
right, and they become a man, they can compete, no worries, in the men's divisions. But let's just say a person was born a male and they've now identified as a female. I think it's wrong for them to compete in the female division. The reason for that is they were born with the makeup of a male. They have bigger muscles. They have the chromosomes and hormones of a male.
Yep.
Which, quite frankly, makes them stronger, makes them more physically fit, makes them you can be fit as a woman. I'm not saying you can't be fit as a woman.
No, of course not.
I'm just saying men are usually like 100%, 99% of the time stronger than women.
That's exactly right.
On an average, if you look at a national average level, that's fact. You can't deny that fact. And I saw a really good picture that painted it. And it had a picture of a swimming pool, and it had XXXXXXXX chromosomes all lined up on the starting blocks, right? And there was all the female swimmers, and then it had XY, and they were both blocks, and the back one was like a tinny motor, like a boat motor.
Yep.
And that just goes to show that XY guy, the transgender, like the man that was competing in that race for the female division, had so much more potential, had such a bigger chance of winning, and it was just going to blow everyone out of the water. Does that answer your question?
Yep. I've gathered your your opinion on that,
Awesome.
and I can't say I disagree because I saw a you talked about the equality thing. I saw it was a couple of years ago. It was leading up to the Tokyo Olympics, I believe, when they first had transgender weightlifters being able to compete in.
I was going to mention
in that. There was a trans woman, so male to female, who was basically saying, "This is not about fairness or anything like that." And it was stupid. The start of it was like, "This is not about fairness. This is a matter of equality." And the first thing I thought was, well, clearly it's not, because it actually promotes, from a sport aspect, it promotes much division, because and that transgender woman went on to win gold in the not, I don't think it was the Olympics. I think it was in the qualifier, but the first qualifying match won gold.
Yeah,
not even close.
And you got to expect, so the people that are pushing, so that the transgender woman that was talking about equality before actually doing the weightlifting, of course she's going to be rooting for fairness on equality.
Yep.
Because she wants gold. She knows she's going to get gold. I'm being honest. She wants gold.
Yep.
So she's going to say, "Oh, it's only fair. It's equality. No worries. Let's do it. It's in the name of equity."
Yep.
But really, it's not. But she's going to make sure it is. She's going to say it is because she wants it. She wants it legally so that she can compete in that division.
Exactly, and that's another
so
thing.
So of course she's going to do it.
There's a hotly debated. Sometimes people, especially with younger high school athletes and stuff, and the transgender rate is just rising in that in transgender, not just transgender teens, but transgender teen athletes is actually really rising right now. And
because the men are realizing they can beat the women.
That's the hotly debated part. Some people say, there's people that go, okay, well, maybe they do have gender dysphoria and they're trying to sort out their identity or whatever the correct term is.
Like a genuine.
By transitioning. And then there's the other side. People particularly parents of daughters who have male to female coming in high school sports. You see that in Connecticut, the youth sports there is so accepting of transgender athletes, and they kill it every time. I think a couple of years ago there was these two sprinters, Terry and Andrea, so males to females, they were in the both in the same pool of races.
Yeah.
They won every single race. I was watching a video on it yesterday. They won every single
And can I
race.
ask you a question? A follow-up? Why do you think that is?
Well, it's quite simple. They hadn't even had gender surgery. They hadn't even had hormone therapy.
So that ties onto my first response, doesn't it? Because
Yes.
they're physically stronger. They're physically more capable than a woman.
They are still male. You know, they may identify as female, and people will still, you know.
And you just
respect
have to
that.
take a biology class to find that out.
Quite simply, yeah. So obviously, it's quite self-explanatory.
Yeah.
They were still men. I mean, they may come across more feminine. They may change parts of their lifestyle to adapt to being a woman, right? But you know, no, up to that point, and this is the thing, you know, with younger athletes that are transgender, they're going to have less time with things like hormone therapy, with genital transition surgery, with things like that. So then they're just going to have an even further advantage.
That's right.
If they go into their new gender group sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. I 100% agree, because you know, they haven't had any previous surgery. They haven't had any hormonal changes or whatever. You know, they've still got the same amount of testosterone.
Yep.
And quite frankly, that's unfair.
And I've got a point here on my notes. Basically, what I said, you know, the whole transitional period is much shorter for younger people, obviously, because it's more modern for them.
More
it's more infant.
I'm a woman now.
Yeah,
Sort of thing. Yeah.
But when you're I guess when you're older, they usually adapt. Well, in the Olympics, most all the transgender athletes that I knew of had been a new gender, I guess, for
a while.
A much longer amount of time.
Yeah.
But like you said, the bone density and structure and all-round build, and not just that, the hand-eye coordination and the skills and techniques picked up over time are going to develop more thoroughly. Yeah. Like as a male, and then switching to female, no amount of testosterone removal or anything like that is going to take that away.
If you remove your testosterone, you're still going to have the same bone makeup and bone density as that of a man.
And you're not going to lose any skills you picked up in that
right.
area.
You still have those skills in here. You're not. You can take all your testosterone out of you, and you can still talk like this, and you're still made up of the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's so simple, and anyone that denies that, like, I'll be honest, you're just denying science. You're a science denier.
Well, I mean, it's literally like that, because Ben Shapiro put it perfectly. Facts don't care about your feelings.
That's right.
And as much as either way in this whole debacle, someone's going to get their feelings or get upset.
Yeah, well, that you can't please everyone. And my dad always tells me, Caleb, you can't please everyone.
Yep.
And that happens with everything. You know, you might like grapes, and someone might not like grapes. So you might like apples. I'm just going to use that example. I don't know why I'm using fruit examples.
Yep.
You know me quite well. I never use fruit examples. But it's just, you can never get everyone in agreement.
No, you can't.
Never.
And that's, at the end of the day, that's what makes the world go around. People are going to have different opinions, and that's obviously okay. It's just, it's kind of, to me, blaringly clear and obvious that, you know, I think, okay, I see it this way. It must be difficult as a transgender athlete, particularly if, and I'd never say whether it is or isn't for anyone, whether it is or isn't, like, whether they do or don't, you know, genuinely have gender dysphoria, and they're not just doing it to win their stuff, right? But I'd never assume any of that. I just wouldn't want to get myself tied up in that, because that's the pinnacle of controversy. But if someone, you know, that does change genders and goes into this new sport and is told you can't compete anymore, that would be extremely, you know, difficult, especially if it's something they've done their whole life, right? And that's for them individually, and potentially for their family. That would be difficult for them, right?
Yep.
But then you got to look at it. Okay, is it fair on the rest of these people, particularly men to women, in a female group? Is it fair that they are all going to probably, more likely than not, get the silver medal or less?
Yeah. Look, I to reiterate again, I I don't have a problem with, again, there's going to be people out there that disagree with this too.
Yep.
I don't have a problem if someone is born a female and they switch to a man and therefore they want to compete in the men's division.
Yep.
And that reason comes down to all the things we've listed before. It's because a female's not as capable as a man.
It's basically switched on its head.
Yeah, look, and there's nothing sexist about that, and there's nothing, like, that's a fact standpoint. It's accepted by everyone.
Yeah, saying
right?
that males are genetically or athletically more capable than women is just a fact.
It's a fact, and
it's not sexist.
Yeah, that's right. If you go, oh well, he's sexist because he's saying that. Well, I'm actually correct. Number one, number two, are you implying that women are stronger than men? Because if you are, that's actually inaccurate, and you need to check your facts. But that's what I don't have a problem with trans men competing in men's sports.
Yep.
But the thing is, the thing I do have a problem with is you got to think about especially with the transgender women, you have to think about all the other women. You know, so I'm really good friends with a professional swimmer, right?
Yep.
And you've got, I know her opinion, and her opinion, is similar to mine.
Yep.
And you have to think of the people that actually the counterparts, especially the female counterparts.
Yeah.
The people who actually are trying freaking hardest to do their best, right, and to get gold, and they have a guy come in and they just smash him out of the water.
Even if they worked hard, like the guy came in, worked half as hard.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep.
But the thing is, you got to think about those people because they're trying their hardest as well. And if we're looking at fairness, everyone needs a fair go, and that's not a fair go. If someone's going to come in and just take up that opportunity off them, effectively just put a padlock on the gold medal and just go, yeah, you can't get that anymore. You can get the silver, bronze. Oh, by the way, if there's 2 transgender women, okay, now we put a padlock on the gold, silver, and
bronze maybe,
and bronze. You can get bronze. What if the third one comes in? Then you can't get any top 3.
Yeah.
You can't get on the podium at all.
Yep.
And obviously, there is that 1% chance that a woman might beat the man one time.
Has happened.
It has happened.
Happened. No,
but
no.
What about the 99% of other times?
Yeah.
99.9% of other times,
Exactly.
probably. Like, it's just,
It's not. It's just, it's unfortunately, as much as, I'm all for people getting out there, living their life how they want to live it, just do
100%.
whatever you want to do. If it doesn't affect me,
Live
then
in
I
the
can't
moment,
complain about it, right? But if you're stuck in a situation where, okay, I feel like I was born a male, but I feel like I'm a woman, but I really, really like lacrosse. Like I want to play. I've played it my whole life. I've trained so hard. I'm on my way to be a pro, but I want to be a woman. You either have to settle for basically not being able to compete in women's. If a transgender woman can go and compete in men's, that would seem out of place socially. People would be like, okay, well, there's a woman here. Are you invalidating that she's a woman and stuff like that? But then you'd have the other side. Okay, you put her in the women's category and everyone else gets slapped. Literally just slapped.
Look, I think that if they, again, I don't have a problem with if transgender men want to compete in men's sports. Like if you're
they'll
born,
probably get their ass handed to them.
Look, that's right. But if you're born a woman and you want to compete in a man's sport, go ahead. No worries.
Yep.
And I think that if you're a man that has become a woman, I'm going to say this: you have to suck it up and compete in the men's sports. You can't. If you want to compete, you can't compete in the women's sports. Sorry, it's just not how it works.
Yeah,
it does work at the moment. Legally, it does work. But it shouldn't work. It should not be a thing because if we're looking at it from a fairness point of view, that's not freaking fairness. Are you kidding me?
It's not, mate. It's absolutely not.
And people will call me a homophobe or whatever for this. Or what are you? What are you going to call me? But
legit, they will though. That's the funny thing.
That's the funny thing. It's because if you're going to call me that, you obviously are not very well educated because this is not actually homophobic, sexist, transphobic, whatever it is. Because it's fact.
It's literally just biology, mate. Yeah, and we've not crossed once whether trans women or trans men are real men or women.
I'm not going to get.
We're not talking about that.
We're not talking about. I'm not even going to get into that.
Yep.
I'm arguing it from the point of view of sports. We're talking about sports.
Literally,
sports o'clock. We're subscribe. We're talking about sports. The sports side of it.
Exactly.
And if we're arguing from the point of view of is a trans woman a real woman, right? Well, there's many answers to that.
Because
Right.
many people have different
There's
opinions.
many different people and there's many different opinions. That's right.
And some
But
places
there's actually-
legally and some
that's
places
right.
it's not.
But I believe that in this subject here, with the sports aspect of it, I believe that there is 100% an answer.
You reckon?
100%.
Yep.
And that answer is what we've been discussing right now. Because it's a clear, definitive, black and white, yes, no. It's not like, oh, testosterone's down. Okay, what about the other hormones or whatever? It's not about that. It's about yes or no, fair or unfair. And it's clearly tilted in the unfair
It is
category
unfair.
at the
Yes,
moment.
exactly.
We could always create a separate division, like the trans division.
Can be done. I saw basically. So I read an article yesterday, day before, something like that, and it was basically suggesting a few different ideas, right, for how to get around this.
Yeah, okay.
One of the biggest ones was what's called an opens division. So
Okay.
then it's not called men's division. It doesn't make the transgender women compete with the men. It's just called opens in any sport, really. So which means that you not really see any women go in except for the transgender women.
Is that only for transgender men and real men? Or is that... I'm just going to call it real men because I've got to put a label on it. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I know.
Is that for transgender men and real men? Or is that for like transgender women,
So
transgender men,
it's
anyone?
so the opens would be for trans. So it said on the thing, it said like transgender women
Yeah.
and men. So because the transgender women obviously have the
Okay,
makeup of
yeah.
a man
Yeah.
going
yeah.
in,
I
and
get
then
it
they
now.
call it opens, so it's not, oh, you're putting the girls in a boys category, you sexist bitch.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like sort of opens it up a bit more.
Yeah, okay.
Literally
yeah, I
in
get
the
it now.
name.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But so I guess that, but at the end of the day, that's kind of just more effort for the organization.
Yeah.
It potentially could be more inclusive, but then you've sort of removed the whole boys division, because
Yeah.
right now in this day and age, you don't go to every school and find a transgender athlete.
The people, I'll be honest, the people that are transgender athletes kind of want to get in the big leagues, especially if they're a transgender woman.
And it's
Because
not
they just
actually
wanna-
that difficult if they're a transgender woman.
All they have to do is snap my finger and say, I'm a woman and I'm getting gold, baby.
Pretty much. And it's quite funny that well, it's not.
Well, that's the
Unfortunately,
problem
it's
though
sad.
when you put it down to being able to identify about some feeling. Because if they haven't, like you were saying earlier, if you haven't even gone through testosterone removal / minimization,
Yep.
or any sort of surgeries, whatever. Well, even then, surgery. If you chop your willy off, you still have the same bone makeup, and all the testosterone levels as a man.
No, but that's the thing though. You do, and even with
But even then,
the testosterone
yeah.
removal, it's still you've still got the whole the issue. And I think one of the biggest parts is the quicker development in some areas with in particular hand-eye coordination, foot-eye coordination if it's like football or something.
Yeah.
You can't just remove those skills picked up. You can't just remove fitness.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. It's just it's unfortunately a very it's not really a one way thing where you can kind of make everyone happy.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, everyone's going to have different opinions about it, which is totally okay.
100%.
Even though you and I might be quite firm with ours, like don't really understand the other side.
Yeah. And look, I'm all open to hearing two sides. Like
Yes.
I've always been a person. I really hate people that pretend to. This disclaimer. I really do hate people that pretend to be your friend, and then as soon as you have one sort of like grey area, miscommunication maybe, or even if it's not a miscommunication, even if
just
it's
disagree on something.
disagree.
Yeah.
I hate it when people then just shun you, call you every now and under the sun, because that is not a nice person, and I think people that do that are horrible people.
Yeah, man. And it's kind of it's probably something that I could say without getting into detail that you've experienced a few times.
100%. 100%. And the thing, I'm not afraid to admit that, because at the end of the day, I've learned so much through having those experiences.
Yep.
And I've learned so much that it's actually very important to have an open mind, number one. And people will think, oh, Caleb's so close-minded. But like, Caleb D. Brown is so close-minded. But I shoot back and go, well, you haven't presented me a convincing argument. You've so let's just say hypothetically, hypothetically,
Emphasis
on hypotheticals, because people are going, oh, but you're so racist, Caleb, or whatever. And I literally was speaking from a hypothetical point of view.
Yep.
Anyway, so hypothetically, if I was to argue the point trans women are not real women, right? And people go, but they choose to be that. That's how they felt for a long time, and stuff like that. I'll go, that's not a convincing argument. You haven't presented me with a biology point of view. You haven't, like, scientific. You haven't presented me with any convincing argument to the contrary.
They've come at you with everything's anecdotal.
Anecdotal evidence, feeling, whatever it is. Not convincing enough. Sorry. No, yes, I'll be closed-minded to that. But if someone genuinely comes to me, A, is nice about it, you're going to get through to me if you're nice.
Yeah, civil.
And yeah, civil at least. You may hate me, but just be at least respectful and civil. B, if you come to me with a semi-convincing argument, such as fact, not anecdotal, then I'll consider it. Or even then, I'll have an open mind to it, 100%.
Yep.
I'm not as closed-minded as what you might think.
You might not agree with everything they say, but you'll happily listen. You can't. That's the sort of grey area between people differing in opinions and people and not getting along at all. Everyone hates each other's guts, and people all agreeing on the same shit and being in harmony with one another completely. There's a grey area where, okay, we might not agree, but at least we're not constantly attacking each other.
And I think that the one thing is that a lot of the I forget where I'm going with this. A lot of the people that actually, disagree with, my point or other people's points of view, and they shut them down. They say, you can't speak, you don't have a voice, you're racist, sexist, homophobic, bigoted, whatever it is, right? A lot of the people that call for violence, those people that I've just mentioned, they also, when they're asked about their opinion, they always go, it's important to have an open mind, stuff like that. It's all fair dairy, like all that sort of, I have an open mind, man. Like, can't we agree on something, common ground? Like that's that. Then they get really like, oh, why don't you have an open mind?
And then they don't practice what they preach.
That's right. It's called hypocritical. Yeah,
it is. And that's. I mean, in terms of difference in opinion and stuff like that, it's just. The thing that annoys me is kind of what you said with the whole hypocrisy thing and the whole says it one way, but can't have it. You can't have it like both ways. You can't have everyone listen to your opinion and then not listen to the other side.
Yeah.
You either got to choose. Okay, I'll listen to theirs and they can listen to mine.
I'll either listen to everyone or I'll listen to no one.
And only look have a narrow mind and whatever. And I think. Those types of people are difficult to deal with, to put it nicely, I'd say. But to basically reflect and I'd say summarize, because we're probably gonna covered everything I've aimed to cover in this video. Your stance with transgender participation in serious sports is well, your take on it is
it could be serious sports. Yeah,
exactly.
If you just want to play for your local club in a men's.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I play community football, right? You've played community football in your life as well. And I've this year I'm playing with a mix of boys and girls, and it's fine, and there may be a potential. There may be a little bit of a mismatch here and there, but nothing noticeable. If you go up to even New FM and you're maybe 14, 15 years and over, and you throw even a transgender man, like a girl or boy, or in the women's NPL or WPL, it is.
I'm sure there'd be at least one example of that.
Well, potentially. I'm not. Yeah. Well, yeah. But if you have maybe a male to female transgender woman playing in WPL, they're gonna bag 60 goals. They're gonna win their team the grand final. They're gonna
it happens even in community football, New FM, NPL, right through to A League sort of stuff.
Yep.
It's just it happens everywhere.
I actually,
it may not happen often, but it happens. Like there might only be one transgender person in that transgender male to female, in that community football realm. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But as it gets more and more, as it gets more and more trans people, then there's going to be more and more male to female athletes wanting to compete in female sports.
And once we get to a stage, potentially, and I think it probably will happen at some point, because more and more people are coming out as transgender and all that sort of stuff. If we can then get to a point where we can actually balance it and actually put people through like a transitional period where it will make it not just, make them appear more feminine or appear more masculine than they were born, i.e. a different gender, but also make them athletically similar. If they're an athlete, obviously that's going to be one of the priorities. They do that for a living, right?
Yeah.
That's what their career that they want. They want to go into into an athletic section of sport, whatever. That you're going to want to make it as fair as possible. So if they can genuinely, properly enhance not just hormone therapy, but full genetic therapy, I'd say, in a lot of aspects to make the competition fair and to well, not validate the transgender person, because that's not in question. They're two different things. I mean, people say it overlaps, and people say, okay, well, if you're not putting this transgender woman in the women's category, then you don't see her as a real woman. But it's not about that. Like we've said, it's about sports equality. At the end of the day, if it's serious sports, like we said, if it's not going to be fair, and you're always going to have your star players in everything, but at least they've worked harder than the other people, you know.
That's right.
And you don't necessarily have to. If you're male to female, you don't necessarily have to
work any harder than what you are.
And if you have worked as hard as the other people, you're going to have an even bigger advantage. So it's just not fair in that regard.
Yeah, imagine if you're an A-grade player in the men's division, and then all of a sudden you switch teams to the females.
Yep. If you're a C-grade player in men's division, you switch to the A team females.
Yeah, but like even if you are an A-grade player, right, and you're the top goal scorer in the men's, and then you all of a sudden become transgender.
Yep.
And then you switch to the females, you're going to be flaming amazing.
Yeah, no one will stop you at all.
And I'll be honest, the coach of that female team will be like, oh yeah, we'll go with female, we'll go with male to female transgender because we'll win.
Yep,
because coaches want to win.
Yep, and that's the individual view.
But that's right. But then on the team, the then top scoring woman, that was scoring heaps of goals, now will be second. That she'll be peed off about it.
Yep, and that's just on this transgender woman's team. Think about the other teams.
Yeah.
How peeved they're going to be.
The thing is, though, Rob, you're dealing 99% of people that have switched teams and that root for the other side.
Yep.
Are irrational people. So many of these people are actually quite irrational, and I don't think it's because I think they get irrational because they don't have a point to stand on. I think they know
they don't have solid ground.
I think they know that they don't have solid ground, and therefore they're getting so defensive about it.
Yeah, and
you're so offensive. You're so instead of going, Caleb, that's implying racism, or that's a racist comment. You know, that's implying that could be interpreted as a racist comment, Caleb.
It becomes personal straight away.
You're racist.
Yep.
You're a racist, Caleb. That could be interpreted as racist to the wrong person, Caleb.
Yep. Exactly.
Difference there.
There is, and I'm glad we've been able to sort of go beyond the transgender participation in sport, and we've gone on to listening to both sides and difference in opinion and all that sort of stuff.
And that's the thing which comes from conversation. You know, you dive into certain different. I've had so many different podcasts with you, Rob, which I've just never finished my show notes because it's that one question would last the whole podcast. You
always have a good discussion.
Always have a good discussion because everything just unpacks and unpacks.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And thank you very much for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Remember to go check the Aussie View out, or I'll come find you in your sleep. And also like and subscribe. Obviously, given chuck the bell on and chuck a comment in the comment section. I was about to say description. That would have been dyslexic. In the comment section, obviously, any feedback is completely appreciated. And if you want to contact myself or anyone on the Sports Clock team, you need to message us on Instagram. And the link to that is in the description below.
Awesome. And thank you to producer Jake.
Yep, Jake Milligan up the back. You can't see him right now, but he's here carrying the show. He carries the Aussie View.
Yep, thank you very much. Yeah, he's our producer at the Aussie View as well. He does a great job.
Yeah, he does. He's a legend.
Yeah, he is an awesome bloke. And yeah, thank you very much, Rob. At This Is CW on Instagram, guys.
Of course.
Because the thing is, if you get them to at This Is CW, then you can get them to the Aussie View quite quickly.
And Flaps Clean and...
Flaps Clean.
Absolutely.
I don't really do much on that anymore. I've got like thousands of followers on there. I don't do anything with it. I just sit there.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope to see you again soon. But from Caleb, myself, we'll see you later.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.